All right. Yeah. Skylar, you all good? On the Twitch end of things? Twitch has eaten Skylar. Got it. Anyway, so why don't we go ahead and recap for everybody kind of what Humaniquarium is, because we know for sure that there's new people to the community who may not be very aware of the fact that we're publishing stuff, not just making games.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So yeah, as Elijah said, a lot of what we're doing at the moment with Dogira, particularly when it comes on to blockchain gaming and stuff like that, is that we do look for games first. And blockchain should be something that can add something to that game. You shouldn't just develop a game for the sake of it being blockchain, as you just kind of wind up with DeFi with a fancy UI running around it. Now, that's one thing that we've noted with the work we're doing on Gooeys currently, that we needed to build that foundation. And we knew, there's essentially going to be a stage where this gets launched, and we're just going to have a lot of what would essentially be gamified DeFi as we start building out the feature base. Now, with Humaniquarium, that is actually a game that was in development long before kind of blockchain was. God, I think the guys started working on it a good couple of years ago. So, blockchain obviously it might have been a thing, but it certainly wasn't what it was today. We reached out to Andy and Dylan looking at how the blockchain could complement some of the things that they're running on it. And now we've already kind of announced on it that we'll be going with a straightforward mobile release for the first version of this. And a lot of that comes down to the fact of, well, number one, everything on chain right now is in a little bit of a bear season, and I don't think it'll give it very good legs kind of run on, particularly with it kind of being a lot more higher quality than the stuff that you'd often see out on chain. That this is a game that was developed, you know, without blockchain in mind at all, and there was a lot of ways that it can complement it. But a release on chain right now, the biggest issue is that we wouldn't be able to use a lot of the platforms that would be well suited for Humaniquarium, Google Play, the App Store, and in the future perhaps a Steam release. So we made the decision that we want to give Humaniquarium the best possible footing to get off the ground on, publish it under Dogira Studios, and as we said on a couple of AMAs already now, revenue that comes in from that goes directly back into Dogira Studios, and then that can go directly back into, say, staking farm rewards or simply just building Dogira Studios outwards. So there's always a benefit to when we opt to say, right now, something on chain is not of great use. But getting Humaniquarium up and running right now, getting good exposure out to the masses on it, it'll introduce more people to the concept of blockchain gaming, just simply by the fact that, the publisher link will take users to dogira.net, where they can find Dogira.finance, they can find Gooeys, etc. as well. And similarly, we're looking at ways that, down the line when we're expanding on Humaniquarium and, if Dylan and Andy are, building new updates to go forward with, we can then look at doing additional releases that will, launch on. I mean, we've even looked at, doing a launch on Ethereum with a very gas optimized contract and stuff like that. So everything is possible when it comes to the on chain version. But to get Humaniquarium off on the best possible footing, and I suppose really to draw attention to I suppose the actual game itself, which I mean I've been delighted watching it develop over the last couple of months. Really excited for everybody here to get to see it, and yeah, like getting it its best possible foot forward and putting it on the platforms that it was kind of originally designed for. We want to make sure that Humaniquarium, in short, has the absolute kind of best launch pad that it could possibly have. And we can always build on top of that then and have a look at additional ways that we can bring it over on chain. And particularly, again, I mean, it might just be a case that the market starts, coming out with this more bearish sentiment. People are a little more willing to kind of jump in and try something new, something experimental. And it could essentially be the exact same version, but with a lot of the, I suppose, business logic moved on chain. Like one of the greatest things that we found in blockchain is the fact that we can have business logic actually running on a smart contract. It's how we get essentially our serverless MMO style games running and stuff like that, which is always really exciting. But while the tech is absolutely getting there right now, as we've said, we just want to get Humaniquarium its best possible launch. And I mean, obviously, we wouldn't do this if we didn't think that it was the best business decision we could make in ensuring that we get more word out about Dogira as a publishing studio. We get Humaniquarium its, place in the sun and be able to give it platforms that we can kind of, leverage natural user flow from. And yeah, everything really comes together perfectly on this. And I think the game itself really is fantastic. And we were able to pivot so quickly on getting, just the pure mobile version to get up and launched. but the work that has gone on in the background with Jupiter Lighthouse and how much we can kind of, expand out from the bases that has been built on already. I think Jupiter Lighthouse are going to really flourish once we get this launch out on mobile. And obviously, we hope to see all of that success come back onto Dogira and our community here. So, the actual game process itself, or the game loop, Elijah, do you want to take over and run people through what Humaniquarium is?
Yeah, so Humaniquarium, some of you guys might have seen the kind of early footage that Andy and Dylan had showed off. Gosh, was it back in February now? So yeah, a long time ago. The game is fundamentally similar, but it has a lot more moving parts to it. So we'll kind of go through the feature notes that they sent us. And we'll talk about some of the other aspects of the gameplay. The overall picture of Humaniquarium is basically that you have a shelf of different bonsai trees that you collect over time, and you take care of the trees and the little people living underneath them. And of course, it has mini games and like little reward loops. It's basically a really nice casual mobile game that's built to be engaging without making players feel like they have to like constantly obsess over it. But on the other hand, there is also all those avenues for people to play it as much as they want and get a lot out of it. So in terms of the feature lists, there's three kind of main features that this game has. There's the bonsai tree feature set. There is the kind of decorative feature set of decorating your different tanks, and then there's a bit of a narrative and mini game feature set. So the first thing that we're gonna dive into here is with the bonsai tree. So your bonsai trees are procedurally generated. It's a procedural element to Humaniquarium that allows it to kind of remain mostly infinitely playable, so to speak. Like each element of the game, at least with the procedurally generated parts, allow players to all have a bit of a different experience in terms of the trees that they're able to get and grow and level up and all that stuff. So basically, there are several different types of trees. There's a willow tree, a fruit tree, kind of a coconut-looking type tree. There's a typical bonsai-style tree, kind of like a woven tree. There's a lot of different types of, well, there's 5 or 6 different types of trees that you'll be able to kind of roll up as a base. And then each tree seed that you get is has 2 to the 63rd power unique trees of every type. So there's a lot of randomization that happens with the way that the trees develop and how you handle them in the game, right? Because you're going to be kind of taking care of them, managing your tank biome, managing the people, trimming the trees, all that kind of stuff. And so they will kind of grow over time as you complete different tasks in the game that earn them kind of experience. So when they level up, they grow taller, and that enables you to kind of show off some different tanks that way, because some trees will be too big for small tanks. And so there's some nice feedback loops there with the gameplay. There's also a ton of different planters that you can put your tree in. So we've seen the jars. There's a different variations that we haven't actually seen yet, but they're all kind of unlockable, earnable pieces that you use to customize your tank. And then, of course, you have the shelf, which is what we saw in the early gameplay footage that they showed off in February. This shelf will hold a number of different tanks. And then that way you can kind of look at your tree collection and all the progress that you've made from day 1 to day 1000. What else do we have on here? So yeah, then you saw like the little AI characters who live beneath the bonsai trees. There were some things that they talked about in the February AMA that we're not sure if they're going to make it into the final build in terms of the characters, kind of like, but we can talk more about talk more about that closer to launch. But yeah, the little characters live under the trees. They interact with elements in the tank. So if you put like furniture down or have them do different tasks, you'll get to see them kind of interacting with the tree elements and in the tank. Then there's the decoration part, and this is where things get a bit more Animal Crossing y, in that you can basically place decorations in the planter and the tank along with the tree, so you can kind of customize each space to how your tree feels. So if you have a willow and you're like, oh, in real life, I like willow trees and I like when people put, swings underneath them. You might be able to do something like that where you can place furniture to kind of give it a very particular vibe. And again, the core of this game is that it's a casual, friendly, relaxing piece of entertainment that is a thoughtful game. It's designed to reward your time rather than waste it. There is a whole workbench and
Yeah.
blueprint. Oh, go ahead, Owen.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm plain and simple agreeing with you. I suppose one thing that's great to kind of look over this is like you can hear about all the features on the game itself. And I think a lot of people are probably like in their mind picturing that mix between Animal Crossing and, Tamagotchi, stuff like that. And I think that actually does a big disservice because I mean, the guys actually got so much more into this across kind of everything that they've built. Like, I've been really impressed just kind of playing with the beta on it. So, yeah, like you've got the actual bonsai tree system, which is kind of like, I guess if you want to like slim it down into a basic way of describing it, it's simply, building a home for what is essentially going to be your Tamagotchi that's inside of it. You can then go into the decorative system, which is where you get a lot of, I suppose, the gameplay feedback loop goes in both with that and the bonsai tree itself. In that, you decorate your tank, your tree levels up, continues to grow, stuff like that. And then the actual narrative side of it as well, where you have people to meet in it. There's all the mini games as well, as mentioned before. So, I mean, if you want to get a Nintendo Trio into it, you can also include like Mario Party for some of the mini games in it. Like, it is really cool. I've really enjoyed watching it coming along. And yeah, but just to kind of put out there as well, this is really a game that I think is best played and experienced to kind of get the actual feel of it. I think the screenshots will go a long way to kind of help people, and the stylization of it has been kind of wonderful as well. Like, Andy has put kind of his heart and soul into that stuff, and it's looking really good for it. It's getting well optimized for mobile as well, so we're going to be able to have a really large player base we're able to push this out to. You won't need to have the latest phone on the market or anything like that, but the game still does look fantastic for it. It's well optimized. So yeah, massive kudos to the guys and everything they achieved with that. But I'll pop you back over onto Elijah now so we can continue talking through the systems. But yeah, just my 2 cents. Go ahead, Elijah.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. No, I think all of that is definitely good to be said. I mean, they have put a lot of time. I think we said at the start of the AMA here that they've been working on this game for almost 5 years. Some of that time is obviously on and off as they were working for other companies and kind of doing some of the work in their off time. But they've put a lot of time and energy into making this look like not just a mobile game, but like a really good game. And I think that you're going to be able to see kind of day one the difference between this game being built with passion and the games that are built to kind of print money for the publishers and the studio. So it'd be really interesting to see how that is ultimately received in the market, because we're used to kind of the gacha style games that overly reward you, then expect you to shell out a ton of cash to keep playing. And this is not how that game is designed. It's designed to reward you for just taking interest and popping in for a couple minutes every day to take care of your trees. But anyway, yeah. So with when it comes to mobile games, there needs to be an in-game kind of shop, an in-game currency, where you're able to get new decorations, not just earn them, but as you earn money through completing tasks and playing games within the broader game, then you're able to take that in-game currency that you earn and buy new items and decorations to put in your tanks. And they also have a little note here that says that there's rare artifacts to collect. They have told us nothing about that. We're not really sure what the artifacts do, but I'm sure it'll be fun with the decoration piece. Maybe add some maybe magical or mystical flair to the environments. And then finally, the third umbrella is kind of a narrative mini game section of the game. So they have a park map, and that was something that was new, which you guys haven't heard about yet. And basically teaches you how to play the game, guides you through the world, and then also has its own subsection of decorations and items to unlock as you complete different tasks for the park. There's locations there to discover, people to meet and talk to. So there's NPCs in the game that will talk to you when you're completing tasks and just hanging out in the park. Then there's also 3 mini games at the moment. I know that there's other mini games that we have talked about, but obviously this is what's going to be in the launch of the game. We have pumpkin harvesting, toad racing, and lumberjacking. So with lumberjacking, you're going to be, chopping wood. For the toad racing, self-explanatory, you're going to be racing toads, and it looks really fun. It looks really fun. We got some screenshots of it, and the toads look really good. I couldn't believe just like how consistent the art style is between all of the different elements of the game. And then pumpkin harvesting, again, pretty self-explanatory, but each of these mini games gives you different rewards that will kind of help your progress. And then, of course, there's actually a journal that tracks your progress and has all sorts of accolades built into it. So for you completionists, there is an entire kind of way to 100% the game. So lots of good stuff.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to actually getting to sit down and play with it. Like, as Elijah was saying, the amount of content that has been kind of put into it over the course of a couple of years by the guys. Now, as Elijah said, obviously it's not 5 years sitting there non-stop working on one project. It would be a lot more concerning if you spent 5 years working on one project. That's how, double that, and that's how you get things like Cyberpunk. But like, this is something that the guys are building kind of in their spare time for, a couple of years, and then they came on, full time to start building it with publishing under Dogira Studios. And for me, I think like the greatest thing that kind of came out of all of that was in working with publishers myself, in past roles that I've held. One of the main kind of steadfast forms we've had is that, obviously, yes, games do need to make money, but you are able to develop a game to your own kind of design standards without needing to really shove things in there. Like, a lot of what I had in industry was, a game would be pretty fantastic by its own merits, but there would just be a plain and simple, you need to put in this really aggressive loot box system. And it's never really nice to the developer to get news like that. I mean, obviously you want to make sure that your publisher is making money and your studio is making money. But a lot of what we see in mobile gaming right now, there is a fine line between where you're making good profits and where it's just kind of verging on greed, nearly to the point of where it would work against itself. That you will actually lose retention simply because, you've got a couple of whales, and that's great. That can kind of, keep things ticking over. If you don't capture those whales during kind of, your initial, marketing upsell and stuff like that, you're essentially just going to have, people that aren't willing to spend a whale amount of money to continue playing a game. And Andy and Dylan being, they're gamers themselves, and this is something that they want to develop, it's their own passion project. And that was one of the great ways we were able to work alongside them, that we were able to look at, how we can actually bring this into being something that's, profitable, obviously, for all parties, but still place the player first. And I think that's one thing that's really been lost in mobile gaming over the last couple of years. Like, a lot of the games that even I would sit down and play with on mobile now, oftentimes the quality can kind of shock me, particularly in what does well. And this isn't to say, there isn't a space for games that, look at very quick builds and stuff like that. Obviously, they're doing well, and we see them, marketed so aggressively. But this is a game that I actually felt like the older days of mobile, when things were a lot more experimental. Like, forgive me if this is going through a small ramble on it, but to talk about the older days of mobile and stuff like that, like, I was really excited when mobile gaming started taking off, because a lot of it was its absolute own genre. Like, a lot of things did transfer over decently well. Like, we saw stuff like, say, XCOM. That was a brilliant transfer over. The touch controls really suited it. It was a good port, etc. Minecraft, I'd say, here and there, but that was one of the games that got mobile gaming so big. So obviously, while it's not really to my taste to play kind of, first-person controlled game through mobile with a little, on-screen analog, stuff like that, other people still did enjoy it. And I could see, where the unique kind of novelty would come from and keep people interested. But I found over the last couple of years, there's been this hyper casual push. And now, again, there's nothing wrong with a hyper casual game. I mean, a lot of them do look fun in their own right. But Humaniquarium looks and feels to me like something that would have been developed when we were coming towards the heyday of creativity in the mobile space. And that's why I personally am really enjoying playing it. And personally, I'm very happy with all the decisions that have been made in order to ensure that, this is something that puts players first on it. We obviously want to see Jupiter Lighthouse get, the recognition that they deserve for putting the amount of kind of care, thought, love, and effort into what they've built. And similarly as well, we want this to kind of show I suppose how we approach things as publishers, that we strongly believe that a publisher relationship should be hands off, apart from where the development team want you to be hands on. So, for example, when we're looking towards the blockchain versions of Humaniquarium and stuff like that, now our development side will be a bit more hands on in that. We're also able to lend some of our own expertise and some of our own resources when it comes to, say, looking towards marketing for mobile. So that's something that I would have kind of had a decent amount of connections in while I was actually in the space itself. So we're able to kind of leverage things that are useful for all parties without it being the type of relationship where, as a lot of publishers are, oftentimes it is a game that got way out of scope. They need, a big cash injection very quickly, and then that money needs to be recouped by the publisher very quickly. And I think that all parties involved have done a great job in ensuring that that is not the relationship we've had with Jupiter Lighthouse. It has been very much a relationship of us being able to support their needs as developers without letting costs spiral through the roof, and also in keeping a decent amount of kitty aside to ensure that we're able to get eyes on Humaniquarium as it launches, bring in new players. Those new players can discover the greater kind of Dogira ecosystem then. And one of the big things for that, for me anyway, is showing people that when they onboard and they have a look at Dogira, like, I think anybody can tell you at this point, particularly anybody in our community for a while and anybody in Gooeys, that we don't really push things so much like what you'd expect to see from standard typical crypto. And right now, crypto and NFTs and so on, and I hate that this has happened, but it has gotten a pretty bad press from what was essentially a bull run that sent, JPEGs to ridiculous levels of value, stuff like that. So players are seeing this kind of stuff in the market now. They're seeing NFTs go for thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars with no utility. And I strongly believe that that's what is causing a lot of the fear kind of in the gaming market right now when it comes to NFTs. Like, nobody's looking at the fantastic side of it that, yes, in a speculative bull run, things do get crazy. But when you look at the actual utility that all of this stuff can offer and how we'll be able to, bridge Humaniquarium from being a brilliant mobile game to being a brilliant on-chain game without actually sacrificing, playability or adding in this aggressive kind of, entry or anything like that. Like, this is where I see people actually discovering the benefits that NFTs can actually bring to gaming, the benefits that being on-chain can bring to gaming, and not look at the plain and simple what we see in a bull run, which is speculative costs going out of control. And unfortunately, a lot of snake oil sellers. Like, well, I know we've gotten words for it in the past that we never go down that route. We typically tend to undershoot it, and sometimes maybe we don't put ourselves out there as much as we should, because we typically sit around and, well, I won't say sit around, we typically build, and we'll wait until that building is, nearing a point where we have something real to show off before we actually do show it off. And like, that to me is an important part that I think nearly all of crypto can take some lessons from. Now, maybe, yes, we were a little bit too passive at times in some of the stuff we were building. We didn't want to give details until it was actually out. And, we weren't able to make hard commitments on some release dates and stuff like that. This is stuff, we are working on our own side. There is such a thing as being too cautious and stuff like that. But right now, I think that this is the type of environment that the gaming community does need to see. That this is a game studio which is developing games first, which is why, we are looking at the actual, the App Store and the Google Play release of it first up, because we believe that is the best platform for this to launch on. And I suppose to develop a relationship that's actually built on trust around all of this stuff. That, you're dealing with a game studio, and if we're putting something on chain or we're putting something into NFTs, it's because we see the value in doing it for the actual title itself. So that is my big run-up on kind of how Humaniquarium and the Jupiter Lighthouse team have kind of come into the Dogira family and been able to allow us to do that and work with them to get their actual title up and running on the platform that suits it best, and of course to look towards the future and everything we can do on top of that together. So yeah, it's exciting times. Really can't wait to get you all out a copy of this and get you all actually into the game to start playing on it. And I believe following on from that, Elijah, we do have a soft launch date we're allowed to share.
Yes. So basically, we originally said that it was going to be by end of quarter 3 that Humaniquarium is coming out, but we are pretty you have on pretty solid word that it'll be around the first week of August. Um, so we have that to really look forward to. Basically, this month is going to be polishing, getting all of the pages up, and then it's go time. That's the exciting
Yeah,
part. We don't have to wait very long.
yeah, absolutely. I think we nearly said that with the unconfidence we would sometimes have in getting our own last minute stuff out, but Humaniquarium is looking great at the moment, and right now we are confident that we're going to be seeing a launch coming up in the first week of August. And yeah, we can't wait to actually share that with you all.
Yeah. So that's really the big thing is we get the ability to have this game go. It's done. At least the base version of the game is done. It's a complete package, and you can play it for a nice long time. But then after that, it's one of the things that I really care about, especially with this, is that that people can play Humaniquarium. Like anybody can play Humaniquarium. So like I could tell my mom to go play Humaniquarium. She doesn't. She plays like Wordle and stuff like that. But like she could actually go play this and enjoy it. And so I think that's a big opportunity for us as a publisher. Is that literally anybody can play and enjoy Humaniquarium, which means that that's that many more eyes on what we're doing as this kind of hybrid crypto gaming studio. So I'm really excited about what the future holds in terms of getting Humaniquarium out there. I think it's going to be very well received, and it also gives you guys something to show off to your friends and family and say, "Hey, you remember Dogira? This is what they're doing now." So yeah, that's my plug to go share with your friends and family.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, can't wait to get it released. We're going to be releasing a lot more content, showing people kind of, a lot more of what the game is about in screenshots. Hopefully we'll get a couple of gameplay videos as well. We're able to share up with you all. But yeah, that is the lowdown on Humaniquarium. So only a couple of weeks away and you'll be getting it into your hands. And we can start getting the word out on this. Yep, absolutely. And I suppose to run through just quick update on everything Gooeys and Dogira ecosystem related. We do have our DAO vote coming up tomorrow, so be ready for that.
Oh
We
yeah.
put out the alert on that last week, so I think it was 6 p.m. UTC we gave the time for. Yeah, so we want you to ensure that your Dogira is in your wallet at around about 6 p.m. UTC, and that's coming up tomorrow. And then we'll do an announcement after the snapshot has been completed, and you'll be allowed to restake in safely if needed. Do remember that we have a lot of different kind of staking pools, and if you're unstaking from one that has a fees lockup time instead of an early exit time, we would recommend stay staked in on that one. I mean, obviously we do want people to have their voices heard. Everybody's voice can be heard in the Telegram, on the Discord, etc. But when we're not able to say cut fees or anything like that, leave people get out and back in. That's just kind of one of the sides of the benefits of holding it directly in your wallet rather than gaining interest from it. So two sides of it, but the votes will all be counted by what's in the wallet at the time. We of course do have the short-term staking pools if you want the best of both worlds, where I believe there's only a 3 or 4 day lockup time. I think 5 at the most we have in the short-term ones. So you're able to jump into those if you do want to be able to get out. We always give 1 week's notice before we do any snapshots or anything like that. Other news then on the GUI side of things are obviously coming along well with our development into discovery. We are still working on small quality of life patches, stuff like that. There likely will be one released before we actually see discovery drop. There's a couple of things we found in there at this point now, very small things like, say, I believe the discount for tumbling is only showing up correctly if you have 20,001 Dogira or more. So off by 1 hour on that, we just have to make sure that that's reading as 20,000. The discount is still applied correctly, though, if you're only holding 20,000 Dogira in your wallet. It's just a client-side display bug. Our audit is in process with Certik. We've gotten the preliminary report back. So yeah, we're delighted to announce on that there have been no critical issues found or any exploits or anything like that from Certik's preliminary report. A lot of the stuff we're looking at was down to the fact that we do have some centralized functions. That's in the ability to be able to update quests and things like that and be able to airdrop you across onto new contracts if needed. That's one of those things that comes with being a GameFi contract. And the way of getting around that, obviously, is through KYC. It's in the Know Your Customer systems that they have. So Certik's one is quite involved, which gives me a lot of confidence in it too. So we had to, all of our staff members had to, individually send on any identification. I had to have a chat with them for about an hour or so on video, stuff like that. So we've already gone through that process. It is currently being processed in the background. Their teams are looking over it, reviewing everything, making sure everything is in order. So the KYC badge on that one will allow us to basically show that, yes, there are centralized functions on this, but the centralized parties are actually known. And while I know everybody in here is already aware of the fact of, who we are, stuff like that, this is more for people who would be finding the project brand new. That's a lot of people, when you look at CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, Certik are one of the audits that actually get listed on there. So people will click it to see, what kind of rating do these guys have. So when they click into it, they will see that the team is KYC'd. And that's for somebody who has never seen Dogira or Gooeys before in their life. So that's always really positive to have on our side for it. So once that's run through and we go through all of the preliminary stuff that comes back, send on any fixes that we're making, that will pretty much be that. The audit will be completed. And then we're going to have a little bit more news coming out following that then on how we're going to be spreading the word and getting more players in on board. And that is the general update for the Dogira and Gooeys ecosystem.
I guess one little thing I can tease is that Mary is working on a very, 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 very nice piece of art that I think you guys will love. Instead of working at 4 or 5K like she usually does, she's working at 8K for it. So just know that it is actually like a legitimately huge art piece, and you guys are going to be very, very excited about it when you see it. So
yeah, that one blew me away when I saw it. It's awesome. Yeah, you guys will love it.
But yeah, so that's everything Humaniquarium and your Studios update. We will go ahead and call it. Thank you, everybody.
Yep, thanks for attending all. Speak to you soon.
Bye.